Hey everybody, this is Matthew Soltesiak and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast. Using my sportscasting background, I speak with a variety of guests and interview key players to gain more insight on what makes this team go. As the Detroit Lions enter a new gritty era, we'll look beyond just the kneecaps when it comes to the analysis. Welcome to another episode. In this episode, we caught up with a few former Detroit Lions players and talked about the NFL draft and the direction the Detroit Lions team is heading in.
Hi, everyone. This is Herman Moore, and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast.
What a few days for the Detroit Lions football team it has been. The NFL draft wrapped up, and I was able to catch up with a few former Detroit Lions players this weekend, including former tight end Rob Rubick, fullback Corey Schlesinger, and all-pro wide receiver Herman Moore. My first interview was with former tight end Rob Rubick. We talked about a few players the Lions took on the NFL draft, as well as his thoughts on keys to success for the Lions this year. Let's have a listen. This is Matthew Soltesiak with Not the Same Old Lions podcast. I'm here with former Detroit Lions tight end Rob Rubick. Rob, you're here for Detroit Lions basketball. Tell me a little bit about what's going on here today.
Well, I've been running this for 36 years, actually, Matt. We do fundraisers with police departments, with fire departments, civic community type organizations that are on a budget and they have limited money to get supplies and things that they need. And with Wolverine Productions, I've been in cahoots. It's a telemarketing company that we've been able to, over the years, I think we've earned or made over $150,000 in extra money besides their budget with us coming up and helping them raise money. I'm all in.
Awesome. And what's the opportunity like for you, or more so even for the fans, to connect with some former players?
It's great. You're going to see Herman Moore is going to be here today. I mean, one of the all-time greats. I mean, he was the Calvin Johnson of the 90s. Corey Schlesinger named the all-time greatest fullback in their 75th anniversary team. Now they're going to have their 90th season this year. He'll be on that. He was just one of the true great players. And they understand the importance of a dad or a mom or an aunt or an uncle bringing out a child today to get a chance to go up and talk to a former professional athlete and get some really good wisdom. And my guys, you're going to see, we're older. We can't play basketball well, but boy, we have fun.
Awesome. Well, the NFL draft is wrapping up this weekend. The Detroit Lions took the running back Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama. Shocked a lot of people. That's the earliest the Lions have taken a running back since Barry Sanders.
Matt, it did shock a lot of people. If you really dissect and look at what he is and what he can do, his versatility, you almost, got two birds with one stone, because even if you have David Montgomery, the running back they signed from the Bears in the offseason, you can flex him out. You can run him at a slot. So you put Amon-Ra St. Brown and you can put Gibbs on the slot. He's a versatile player, though. Just because he's not at the running back position doesn't mean he won't be on the field. And it gives you that dead big play capability where he can go 80 yards with it because he's cartoon fast. So I like that pick. At first I was like, oh man, take Jalen Carter. But the baggage that comes with him, I don't like what could happen down the road. True talent, but and so in hindsight, I think only time will tell. Let's wait and see on this draft how good it is, how many play out of it and contribute.
If we stay with the offensive theme of the Lions draft, in the second round, they took a tight end, Sam Laporta, out of Iowa. How big of a piece could that be, or an addition?
Well, I was a little disappointed. I mean, I don't know as much about Sam, but I know a lot about Michael Mayer. I've watched him play a lot, and I think he's a dude. Mayer was a good inline blocker, really good receiver, a big body, really a grabber of the football. Sam Laporta, I don't think is quite the blocker, but I don't know. I don't watch film on these guys, Matt. I'm sure I give Dan Campbell. You got to trust Dan, and you got to trust Brad Holmes that they've done their research. They've watched both these guys because they had a chance to get them. He got picked one pick after them, and they must have felt that they liked Laporta better. So trust in Brad. That's all you can do.
Going into this offseason and through the offseason, the Lions are now considered the preseason favorites to win their division. They haven't won a division title since 1993. What do you think about that?
It means nothing to the players. It won't put any more pressure on them because they don't look at that. They don't look at the standings really. When I played, I mean, every now and then we'd say, where are we at? Oh, okay. You're just playing the next game. You really are. Coach said, we're just playing the next game. We're playing what's in front of us. That is true as a player. The parity is so great. And so as far as what players think going into the season that they're picked, it just shows you that, the expectations are high, but you got to play.
So what is it going to take for the Lions to reach that
Stay
goal?
Healthy. They have the best or second best offensive line in the NFL. You got 3 Pro Bowlers in mind. I mean, you look at their tackles are both Pro Bowl guys. The center and Ragnow is a Pro Bowl guy. They bring Glasgow back, who's going to fight for that right guard position. and Jackson at the left guard. I mean, that's a really good line. You saw how they could run the football. If you can run the football in that league consistently, you win. Because now all of a sudden Jared Goff, who's not an ad-libber, who can't make things happen in the passing game, extend plays, but you give him time in the pocket, he's smart and he's accurate, and he will get it to the right guy.
Last question about the offense here then is, what are your thoughts on the Hendon Hooker addition for the Detroit Lions?
I love it, Matt. We were talking before we did this little piece, and I've been saying for the last 5 years, even when Stafford's here, they needed to start taking a quarterback from the 3rd to the 7th round, and hopefully one hits. It happens. I'm not saying a Tom Brady. I'm just talking about maybe a Purdy, like you saw with San Francisco. He's a pretty solid guy. He's on a really good team, but he's still pretty solid. Not all these 7 picks are going to make it every year, so you're missing on a quarterback 5 times, but sooner or later you're going to hit on one, so let's hope this is the beginning with Hendon Hooker that we hit on him.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate the time. Rob brought up some great points. First, being about Jahmyr Gibbs and his versatility. The difference maker he could be from different spots on the field for the Lions offense as well. As for the tight end position, the Lions had their pick of all the tight ends except for one, and they chose Laporta. So it's not like they were settling after a run on that position had happened. They took the guy they wanted. Then we talked Hendon Hooker. Rob echoed something I have been saying for multiple shows, and that is that the Lions need to draft a mid to late round quarterback every handful of years, which they had not done in quite some time. This year that changed, and we both love the pick. Next up, I was able to catch up with fullback Corey Schlesinger, and we talked Lions running game and a little Dan Campbell. This is Matthew Soltesiak, but not the same old Lions podcast. I'm joined by former fullback of the Detroit Lions, Corey Schlesinger. Corey, good to have you here. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing here today.
We're here to raise money for really any organization that wants us here today. It looks like it's going to be for the Sheriff Department, the Police Department. So we're very excited to come here to Traverse City to be able to play these games and raise money for them.
Talk about how it is that you get to come out and interact with fans. You see the similar reactions, I believe, on the fans today, just as you did back in the late 90s.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty thing about the Detroit Lions fans is even though we don't have any rings on our fingers from the Super Bowls, they are still very loyal. They're very committed. It's kind of nice for us to come to their area of the state to thank them and also just get a chance to get them to be a little bit closer to us, ask us questions and, just be able to see us.
Now, it's been a long time since the Lions have won a playoff game. That they are actually the division favorites going into next year. But as Jared Goff even said, nobody wins a division in April. And so what do you think it's going to take for the Lions to maybe fulfill some of those expectations and maybe win a division title or a playoff game?
Well, they finally figured out what they need to do. The second half of the season was outstanding. They played really good football. What I really like is they're getting that running game going. The running game is really good. Is what's going to get them to get where they need to be after they accomplished the running game. The games they were winning games. It's going to help out the passing game also. We did lose a running back, but we picked another one up. So we'll see what happens with that. We have a running back that will be part receiver too. I have a feeling he can go out there and catch some balls. So he's going to be a dual threat.
Well, okay. As a fullback, you understand the importance of the running game. You were a vital part of that. How does that change the team? Because it seems that has been a focus of Dan Campbell since he came to Detroit.
Well, for one thing, you're eating up the clock. Secondly, you're pounding on the guys. You're pounding on the defense. And if you can do that, you're eating up the clock. Not only we had good runs, they were big runs. They weren't just, 4 yards. These were 15-yard runs. And that hurts the defense. I mean, that gets them tired. We're pounding on them. And that means we are doing something really good on the offense. That means the offensive line, they're handling the defense. So those are all good, positive things to see out there. I like to see our offensive line that are tough, that are able to just pound on guys. And that's what I like to see. So that's my kind of football. So
awesome. What are you most looking forward to seeing out of the Detroit Lions this season?
Running game again. Wins early. I want to go to playoffs every single year. And I'm looking forward to them to have a good season. Yes, they're talking about the division, but we haven't played a game yet. So I'm not going to say anything until they win a game. But, yes, win the division, get in the playoffs, and get further in the playoffs, not the first round and just get hammered. Let's get a lot further. Let's get into the championship at least. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. That would be a very good positive. Plus, of all, let's get the Super Bowl more than anything else. But I like Campbell. I actually got an opportunity to play with Dan, so He was always a good guy back then. I have a feeling, I know from talking to some of the players, that they really like his coaching style. They're motivated to play for him. I know, granted, this is a paying job and you should be playing, but you want to do good for him. You want to play for him, and that's very important for the team also. So
that's an interesting nugget about Dan Campbell there. I actually dressed up as him for Halloween, and I went to the Lions game dressed as him, shouted out to him, I got him to laugh. What is it about Dan Campbell that just draws people to him? He seems to have like an infectious personality.
He says some pretty outrageous things, and I think that's more like me. So I guess he motivates the players in a way that he doesn't degrade them or anything like that. He tries to fix their mistakes, and he tries to get them to be better and help them to be a better player.
Well, it sounds like the Campbell, general manager Brad Holmes, are changing the culture quite a bit, which makes it fun. And then I think what you're alluding to is it gets more out of the players.
When you're having fun, that means you're winning. When you're winning, that's way more fun to play the game too. But you can't be tense the whole time. You can't go out there and play tense because you don't do well. You got to have some type of excitement, some arousal out there, and he's able to get that out of his players, and that's a huge. We'll see what happens, but we got to start the season strong. We got to finish it even stronger. So we got to stay healthy. We got to just keep playing, and like I said before, the running game. Let's keep that running game going.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Corey. I appreciate it. You have a lot of fun out there today.
All right,
it's very nice to meet you.
All right, thanks.
It's no surprise that fullback Corey Schlesinger is a proponent of the run game. But let's be honest, we saw the success that it brought to the offense as well. And we're hoping we can see even more of that this upcoming season. In my final interview, I spoke with wide receiver great Herman Moore about all things Lions, as well as the NFL draft experience and the transition for a player to the next level. And a point of note, this interview took place just hours before the DeAndre Swift trade was announced, so while you hear us talk about Swift, it's obvious the trade aspect is unknown when we're speaking. Let's have a listen. All right, this is Matthew Soltisiak with Not the Same Old Lions podcast. Joining me is former Detroit Lions All-Pro wide receiver Herman Moore. Herman, tell me what's bringing you out here today for this fundraising event.
Well, I've been doing the fundraising with the Lions basketball tour of the alums, going around to the different communities in Michigan since '94. So I haven't missed a year except the pandemic time because it's important. It's great. We're supporting our first responders. We're supporting causes and fundraising charities in local communities around Michigan. Same people that support us. So that's what we're doing. I'm always honored to be here. It's always a privilege to come out and meet the people in the community, and it's so great to see the people come back here to support one another.
Awesome. I know you had your foundation out here. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yep. So I started my Tackle Life Foundation, the Herman Moore Tackle Life Foundation, actually in 2009, became an official 501c3 in 2016. And our goal is to really just empower youth. We try and still get with them where foundational skills can be still shaped before we have to undo some things that perhaps may lead them down the wrong path. And entrepreneurship programs. We know there's a lot of people who want to go into business for themselves, but they don't know how. So we try and help stem the failure rate by improving the odds of them being successful by giving them education and foundation.
Awesome. If somebody wanted to get more information about your foundation, what's the website or easiest way to get information?
The easiest way to find out more about our foundation is to go to tacklelife.org. And that's tacklelife.org. And in there, you can read about everything that we do and also contact us directly through our site.
Awesome. The NFL draft just wrapping up this weekend. In the first round, the Detroit Lions took a running back, the highest they've taken a running back since a teammate of yours. And so that's got a lot of expectations, a lot of thoughts going out there. What can a running back like that do for an offense?
Well, when you pick up a running back that's as dynamic as the pick that they were able to receive, I think it gives them the opportunity to have breakaway speed. I've been a big fan of DeAndre Swift, and I know that's caused a little tension and a little uncertainty there. But I think he brings that same type and that caliber. He has good size, but his elusiveness and speed appears to be a breakaway and game-changing. So you'll always look into how can you score points from the backfield other than just having to throw your way into the end zone. The Lions have proven that their offensive line is capable of run blocking. And if they can get that, I think it gives them even greater flexibility with Jared Goff.
Now, as a wide receiver, how does having a great running game in the backfield there help you?
Having a great running game in the backfield just keeps the defense honest. Everyone hears that. They don't necessarily know what that means. It means that you don't get to overplay just the passing game. It means you have to respect the running game because the running game can hurt you just as bad as a team's offensive passing attack. So when you were able to have that consistency and that firepower in the backfield, it gives you more options. It keeps you in. Definitely, you don't have to always throw on third down and second down when it's 7 or more yards, and still be an effective offense. So I think they've built this team the right way, and they've built it with character, but they've also built it with not overspending for players. This one is a little bit of a surprise, the first 2 picks in the first round. But I trust this organization and the scouts that they have, because so far they've done a great job.
Now, with the draft wrapping up, it's an exciting time. You yourself, first-round draft pick, top 10 draft pick. What's the draft experience like?
The draft experience can be pretty stressful for players. When I had the opportunity to go to New York, I passed on it. I decided to stay in Danville, Virginia with my family and watch it from home. And then when I received my phone call from Wayne Font saying that they were going to select me with the 10th pick, I was elated, but I can't imagine the pressure that goes around it now. It's such a big production. But the experience itself is one that, depending on what type of foundation you have as a player, is either going to make or break you. The pressure's there if you go higher than expected. If you're supposed to be a high pick and you go lower, then all of a sudden it's like you're having to prove something all over again. So it comes with some challenges.
Well, and getting picked early in the first round comes with expectations. The Lions had a wide receiver chosen 12th, Jamison Williams, last year. He battled through some injuries. We're all excited to see what he can do this year. What is that transition like, though, for a college player from the college game to the NFL game? What did you go through?
Really good question. When you are going from level to level, I always tell young kids, especially high school students, I say, listen, when you go from high school athletics to collegiate athletics, not just in the academic side, the levels change. There's different rules. You no longer, you could be an all-star, all-nation player in high school, but then you go back to just being an ordinary person on your football team when you're in college. Same happens in pros. You can be the Heisman Trophy winner. You can be the Dick Butkus best defensive player or linebacker. You can have all these accolades coming into the NFL, but the players there are just as good, if not better, than you are. They're more experienced, and you're actually starting from the bottom. It doesn't matter what accolades you're bringing with you. So it's Jamison Williams, battled through some injuries, and now he's got to sit out 6 games. So his growth is going to be stalled just a little bit, but it's a learning curve no matter how talented you are at any of the levels.
Awesome. Switching over to expectations for the team this year. They haven't been this high perhaps since you were on the team. They're talking potentially favored to win the division, a division that they've never won. The Lions haven't won a division title since your team in 1993. What's it going to take for them to do that?
It's seeing right now that this team is being picked to win the NFC North. I actually think they will win the North. I also one of those believers that it's there for the taking, and it's not because Aaron Rodgers left. It's not because of anything else that has happened. They still have to stay healthy. They're going to still have to play games. You're facing teams in your division twice. Keeping the team and keeping the dynamics, keeping the locker room right, and just fielding the team healthy and playing a really good 4 quarters of football is the only way you win. So it's not a given, but the opportunity itself is there since, as you mentioned, since 1993. This is an opportunity for this team to really turn the next corner, and that is to win a division and also make it to the playoffs.
Awesome. Is there any difference playing a football game from a player standpoint? I always hear these analysts say, well, they're not going to sneak up on anybody now. But I felt like the Lions didn't sneak up on the Green Bay Packers the last game of the season. Is there a difference playing a game when you're the underdog versus the favorite?
The Lions, I think, just are playing with tremendous amount of confidence. If you look back into last season, closing out that year in 2022, coming into 23, you aren't going to sneak up. It's no different than players. People are going to know who Aiden Hutchinson is. Everyone knows who Amon-Ra St. Brown is. They know that Jared Goff possesses the ability to beat you. They understand they have a good offensive line. So teams will scheme and play you differently. And if you don't change or level up or get better as a team, then you will stay the same or you fall. It doesn't matter if the Lions field and they're the most talented team. They can lose to a less or an inferior team.
Awesome. Any last exciting thing you're looking forward to for the Detroit Lions for this upcoming season?
The only thing I'm looking forward to this year for the Lions is to go out and really pick up where they left off last year. Tremendous momentum. The coaching staff has established a great line of communication. They've done a great job of putting together a team of coaches and the administrative people upstairs in terms of scouts and your top-level people to really keep the team together and do any and all things that are necessary and taking some chances on it. But people want to come to Detroit now. Players want to come here to be a part of what's happening under Coach Campbell's leadership. And I look to see that continue this year. I'm very excited as an alum to see what is happening with this team and organization.
Awesome. Herman, thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Those were some great insights about the Detroit Lions as well as the NFL draft from Herman, Rob, and Corey. We'll have more breakdown and reaction to the NFL draft in our next upcoming episode as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. Please subscribe to Not the Same Old Lions podcast to get alerts about new episodes. Also, follow the show on Twitter at Matt Soltesiak. Check us out on YouTube as well. And until next time, stay gritty, my friends.